We are back. Okay, sorry. We'll be doing financial mathematics. We're in a break, we're in a market. Financial mathematics. When we talk about financial mathematics or finance, we're talking about money. We're talking about money and understanding how money is used or how it goes. We have two terms that we must actually familiarize ourselves with and or know them or understand them: a loan and an investment. So when you talk about a loan, it's when someone asks or go to a financial institution to borrow money. Then when they borrow money, they actually have to pay something known as an extra amount of money on top of the amount that they borrowed, which is known as an interest. I hope it makes sense. So you go to a financial institution, they borrow you 10,000. Then you agree in whatever terms, then they tell you that when you bring it as 15,000, meaning they borrowed you 10,000 and they want you to pay them 15,000 when you bring back their money. This is an example. So the 5,000 extra is known as an interest, the money that you paid on top of the money that you borrowed. That's an interest. So in this case, yes, since it is a loan, you have lost. But we'll explain the interest when you talk about investment. So in an investment, let's say Olwam, for an example, invests 50,000 to a financial institution or to a company. Then after 3 years or after a year, he gets 60,000. So this 60,000 is known as the accumulated amount or the future amount that Olwam will get after investing the 50,000. I hope it makes sense. So now the 10,000, because he invested 50,000, it is known as what? As an interest, the money that he gained after investing. You see, when you invest, the interest that is calculated there, it is the gained interest by the investor. But when you make a loan, the interest that is actually calculated, it is the interest that the person who borrowed money loses. But here you gain. So in an investment, you gain. When you make a loan, you do what? You lose. I hope that makes sense. So this is very, very important. Since you are actually going to school to have money, you must know that run away from loans. But I'm not saying loan is a bad thing. It's just that we lose when we borrow money, but we gain when we invest. Okay, my handwriting is so bad. Now we have different types of interest, but before that, let's just do this recap. So when we talk about interest, the money that we gain or lose. So in an investment, we gain interest, but in a loan, we lose. We pay extra. So that extra money you paid is known as what? Is an interest. The extra money that you gain after your investment is known as what? As an interest. So two types of interests. We have simple interest and the compound interest. So you must know how to differentiate them. Very, very important. So compound interest and the simple interest. So an interest is something that you gain when you invest, or the extra money that you pay when you borrow money, when you request for a loan. Okay, now what you must understand, we have formulas for this interest. A equals P open bracket 1 plus interest or IN close bracket, but I'll explain all of those alphabets. So the difference between the simple interest formula and the compound interest is that the N and the simple interest is inside the bracket, but the n on the compound interest is what? Is the exponent. I hope you see the difference. So that's how you differentiate the simple and compound interest. So A stands for the future value, the money that you will get in future after investing, or the money that you will pay in future, or it is known as the accumulated amount or accumulated value, the future amount, the money that you're going to get in future. I hope it makes sense. For an example, let's say right now you have 10 rand, then after 3 hours you're going to have what? The 30 rand. So this 30 rand now is known as what? As the accumulated amount. Why? Because it's the amount that you're going to have in the future. I hope it makes sense. Then P stands for the present amount or the present value. Sometimes you'll hear it is saying principal amount. So it is this 10 rand that you have right now in your pocket, the amount that you have right now. But accumulated amount is the amount that you will have tomorrow or in hours to come. Then we have I, which is known as what? As the interest rate. But the most important thing here, you must know that the interest rate must always be written in decimals or as a decimal. It's like when they give you 20%, you don't just take that 20% and substitute it on the formula. For an example, 13% you are given as I or interest rate, you must actually divide it by 100 all the time. Then we have the decimal now. You take that decimal, substitute it on the formula. You don't take it as it is, but you divide it by 100, then the decimal, you substitute it on the formula. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm preaching the word of God. By the way, I'm a child of God. I'm born again. I'm a born again Christian. So, and it is known as the time period. Jesus Christ is my Lord and is the King of Kings. Okay. Whatever that actually talked about or explained, doing the same thing, or yes, one the same thing with all those alphabets on the compound interest formula. I hope that makes sense. So we'll do a few examples, then we continue with our lesson. All right. Now, let's say we have 20%, then they write something like this, PA. This is per annum. Per annum. So I'm giving you a homework. Go and find out what is the meaning of per annum. Per annum. All right. Let's actually start with our first example. I hope we understood each other. If you did, please like the video.